Part 30. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 291. In a palace, a humanoid figure watched Suran kill the wood spirit with a knife, and the corner of his mouth twitched involuntarily. Damn it, how could such a powerful person come in? How on earth does he practice at this age? No, I have to find a way to deal with him. If he comes to the temple, my body made of absorbing these humans will be broken again. I will never fall short this time. Within the 4 major areas at this time, thousands of people died in just 5 seconds. Human life is worthless here. At this time, the advantages of those big forces, such as Shuiyu Society, Qinghua Society, etc., were revealed. There are strong people in the team, and others may not be their opponents even if they unite together, so they can rest easy. As long as they follow the rules, they can successfully pass this test. As for others, they can only look at their own strength. In essence, this test is also a test of strength. Time passed quickly, and the 500-meter distance could be completed in about 2 minutes according to the rules. Just for this distance, it took about 5 minutes for the first batch of people to arrive. At the last moment, everyone was so jealous that they didn't care who the other party was, they would take action as long as they dared to walk in front of them. That voice seemed to be happy to see these people fighting. The wood spirit would only turn its head every tens of seconds, just to make time for everyone to fight without any scruples. After about 10 minutes of fighting, rivers of blood had already flowed into the 4 major areas. Tens of thousands of people died in this war, and the fighting was extremely tragic. They did not die under the rules of this test, but they fell at the hands of their own kind first. The blood soaked under the lake and slowly flowed into a mysterious palace. My lord, what is that voice? What does she want to do? The people of the Night God sect, escorted by Duan Yu, a top level 9 expert, arrived at the finish line safely. Although some people came to attack them on the way, Duan Yu only used a sword, and dozens of people who surrounded them died tragically on the spot in an instant. No one dared to attack them anymore. They knew that this was someone they couldn't afford to offend. Duan Yu shook his head when he heard this. I don't know either. The leader just asked me to get the artifact. He doesn't know what's going on inside. However, if my guess is correct, this voice should be similar to the will of something, or she is the spirit of the artifact. The spirit of the artifact? Can the artifact really generate will? Isn't it an inanimate piece of equipment? Everyone in Yeshen cult was surprised. After all, it is indeed incredible that a dead thing has a will. They were also lucky enough to see the legendary equipment second only to the artifact, which was a lifeless piece of equipment. Master Duan Yu, doesn't the leader also have a divine weapon? Does the leader's divine weapon also have a will? Duan Ji shook his head again. No, either this dream mirror is special, or I guessed wrong. No matter what, let's pass her test first. In the end, no matter what she is, she can't escape the palm of my Night God cult. Just as a few people from the Night God sect were talking quietly, the ethereal voice sounded in the sky again. The second round of testing is about to end. There are less than 100 places in each region. This is your last chance. Those who fail to reach the finish line after the test will die. From now on, the wood spirit will stop turning, and you can run as much as you like. After the words fell, a melee broke out again in the 4 major areas, which was even more fierce than before. Everyone who had reached the end looked at the hell that was like a Shura field, and couldn't help but feel a sense of fear in their hearts. If they weren't so powerful, they would be the ones trying their best right now. But this test is obviously still there, who can guarantee that he will not die in the next round? Finally someone stood up and shouted. Everyone, we can no longer allow ourselves to be manipulated by this voice. If we watch with cold eyes today, disaster will happen to us tomorrow, and no one will wave the flag and shout for us. We must unite. If this continues, none of us will be able to get out of here. However, no matter how much this man shouted, everyone could only lower their heads silently when they saw him. Resist. It's not like they haven't thought about it. It's just that in this mysterious space, they don't even know who the other person is, where they are, or what they are. Are you really going to sit back and let the other party play with you? All they can do now is abide by each other's rules, and surviving is the biggest gain. Today, I'm going to show you the sharpness of my sword. Ha ha ha, have you seen it? She can't attack us at all, why should we abide by her rules? Brother, forget it. In just an instant, all the tens of thousands of people who had not completed the test were struck to death by lightning, and no one was left. If they could resist, they would have resisted long ago. How could they become someone else's plaything? The man cried out sadly. After all, no one wants to be controlled by others. As long as all of us ignore her rules, there's nothing she can do to us. This person was laughing wildly and yelling at the sky, causing countless people to watch. Although they did not dare to resist, they wanted to know what that voice would do to this person. Hearing this, the man looked up to the sky and laughed 3 times. That voice seems to be really unable to attack him. It's meaningless. In the next round, we might be enemies. Let's cherish this living time. They are afraid of you, I will not be afraid of you. This scene shocked everyone who was still alive. Someone advised. But instead of hitting him, he hit those who didn't complete the second round of the test. As soon as the man finished speaking, countless thunderbolts fell. Humph, if you can, chop me to death. Come on. He just waited for a long time until the voice announced that the second round of testing was over, and the man was not punished in any way. What a terrifying power this is. How dare they resist in the face of this power? Bitch, I don't care what you want to do, just come out if you have the ability. This man pulled out the sword from his waist, pointed it at the sky, and cursed angrily. The man was still shouting loudly. You. How can they resist in this situation? Ha ha ha, good, good. If you don't dare to resist, then let me do it. You will die anyway, so what should I be afraid of? People under the eaves have to bow their heads. Can we join forces to deal with that voice? What's more, the power displayed by the other party is simply beyond what they can handle. Even the 2 major communes dare not take the lead in resisting. Do you think we dare? Everyone came back from the shock just now and looked at the man who was still alive, feeling a little shaken in their hearts. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 292. At this time, the 4 areas merged into one, and the bodies of the dead people disappeared, as if these people had never come in at all. But those who survived knew that it was all true. As people in the other 3 areas learned that someone raised a sword to curse the sky but was not punished in any way. Finally, someone's mind became brighter. The seeds of resistance have been planted, and they are likely to take root quickly. Li Qinghua, how about we join forces temporarily? Shui Yuo immediately found the people from the Blue Flower Club and said this. As soon as these words came out, others looked sideways at the 2 most powerful communes in Sakura country. I never thought that Shuiya Club and Qinghua Club would one day cooperate. If the rules here don't prevent us from taking the initiative to kill us, maybe the 2 major communes will join forces to lead everyone to resist. Granny Qinghua looked at the sky with her cane and said softly. Old lady, I'm old and I really don't like to be controlled by others. Since you intend to cooperate, it doesn't matter if we cooperate once. Okay, I wonder if you have any way to break the situation. Shui Yuo asked. Isn't there someone taking the lead? Just let him come. Our 2 families can listen to his opinions. There was no need for people from the two major communes to find someone. When the person heard that the two companies were planning to cooperate, he took the initiative to come to the door. "May I have your name?" Granny Kinghua looked at the person in front of her. "In Nakamura, Shimoka Tajima." Granny Kinghua originally wanted to ask again, but then the ethereal voice sounded again. "Next, you will go through the final test. Those who pass this test, the first 100 people will receive a dream treasure. The top 10 will also get a precious opportunity to make a wish. I can fulfill any wish you have within my ability." After the voice finished speaking, golden light suddenly flashed in the sky, and a huge warehouse filled with various treasures appeared in front of everyone. Looking at the boxes of gold and silver treasures and equipment and materials, everyone couldn't help but swallow, and even their breathing became rapid. "With so much money and equipment, if I can get a share, I won't have to worry about it in the next life, let alone this life. Oh my God, that box of equipment in the corner is all epic level or above, right? And the materials next to it that emit 7 colors of light. What kind of materials are these?" Everyone stared at the treasure without blinking, and they didn't come back to their senses until the projection in the sky disappeared. But their eyes also changed, becoming greedy. At this time, the voice sounded again. "The rules for this test are as follows. I will randomly distribute 1,000 dream marks to the people present. Having a dream mark counts towards your ranking. The more marks you have, the higher your ranking will be. Killing the person with the dream mark can obtain all the opponent's dream marks. Treasures only belong to the strong. This is the best gift for the strong. Fight for it." As the voice fell, 1,000 black streams of light fell from the sky. The stream of light fell into the crowd, and after a while, someone discovered a dream times 1 mark on the heads of the people around them. This means that the person randomly obtained a dream mark. However, this is not a good thing, because many people have already targeted them and are already vaguely planning to take action. The people who were ready to unite just now were destroyed by the voice with one move. Money moves people's hearts. In the face of the huge temptation of interests, the alliance just now seemed so feeble. Don't be fooled by her, she is making us kill each other. Everyone, calm down. Kitajima Nakamura tried his best to shout, but he found that everyone looked at him with something wrong. Even the people from Shuiya Club and Kinghua Club were staring at him. Kitajima Nakamura was stunned for a second. He held his sword horizontally and looked at the top of his head through the reflection of the blade. Dream times 10. He got 10 random marks by himself, and he knew without thinking that this was definitely intentional by the voice. Shameless dog thief! Kitajima Nakamura roared to the sky, and when he was about to speak, he found that his heart had been pierced. Kitajima Nakamura looked back with difficulty and saw Shuiyu wiping his hands and said calmly, "I'm sorry, Mr. Beideo, the other party really gave me too much. Ha ha ha." Kitajima Nakamura laughed miserably and fell down, his eyes filled with sadness. Takeshi Suijutsu killed Kitajima Nakamura and successfully obtained 10 marks from the opponent. "Shuiyu, are you going too far?" Granny Kinghua couldn't stand it anymore. "Haha, Li Kinghua, if you don't want it, why don't you let me have it? Also, do you dare to say that you are not tempted? Don't forget that Yamata no Orakai was also captured by her. Let's make it clear, everyone. Yamata no Orakai is the key for you and me to advance to the 9th rank. If you want to give up, I will never stop you." After Shuiyu finished speaking, he led the people from Shuiyu society to kill into the crowd. At this time, someone has already started to take action. "Mother-in-law, what should we do?" Granny Kinghua's men looked at the battlefield where they were fighting again. For Li Qinghua to be able to sit in this position as a member of the female class, it is certainly not a bad thing. Shuiyu was right, she was indeed tempted, but was what the voice said necessarily true? She didn't know, and she didn't dare to gamble. So she could only choose to join the massacre. Now that it was already like this, she couldn't care so much anymore. Kill. Following Granny King Hua's order, the two communes officially started massacres. This is a disaster for those who get the mark in the first place, because they became the first batch of targets. Only a few strong players or those who rely on a team have a chance to keep their mark. Even if everyone knew that this was a trick played by the voice, they still couldn't control themselves. Desire has completely filled their hearts. In the palace, watching the crowd start fighting again, the shadowy figure covered his mouth and smiled. He, ridiculous humans, do you want to unite to deal with me? Just some useless money can make you kill each other, it's really simple. The shadow looked at the young man squatting on the lake behind the crowd. How will you respond this time? Suren looked at his reflection on the lake curiously, then looked at the sky and said with a smile. Interesting, you thought about using this method to deal with me after thinking for a long time. What do you think they can do to me? Suren stood up and looked at the crowd in the distance. At this time, someone had already spotted him. Those people were surprised for a while, and then rushed towards Suren with a fierce look in their eyes. It's not because of how handsome Suren is, but because of the big black characters above Suren's head. Dream Times 100. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 293. Look, there are 100 marks on that man's head. The person closer to Suren exclaimed. This shout directly attracted the attention of others, and the person who shouted immediately regretted it. If he had known better, he would not have yelled, so that he could get it first. 100 imprints accounted for 1/10 of the total imprints. As long as you get these 100 marks, you can steadily enter the top 10. This is a huge temptation, and no one will be tempted. So at the first moment, more than 10 people rushed towards Suren. Suren took out the knife and shook his head. If I were you, I would choose to run as far as I want. Why do you want to come up and die? Haha, boy, where do you get the confidence to say this? I don't know if you are lucky or not, but I will accept your mark. The person who rushed first had a smile on his face and looked determined to win. As he rushed over, he seemed to vaguely hear someone behind him being surprised that this young man seemed to be the one who had offended Shuiyu society. But how could he think so much now? He just wanted to be the first to rush forward and kill Suren and take away his mark. When he was less than 10 steps away from the young man, he saw the other man slowly pull out the knife. Ha, just pretending. He sneered inwardly. Just the next second, he noticed that the world was turning rapidly, and he actually saw his body running forward. Strange, how can I see my back? With this question, the man felt that his consciousness went dark, and finally disappeared completely. Not only him, but also the dozen other people who rushed towards Suren with him. Their bodies and heads ran apart for a distance before they both fell to the ground. Seeing this scene, the others who were about to rush over to snatch the mark immediately stepped back in fear. Who knew him just now? I told them that this man is the man from the Dragon Kingdom who killed the 4 generals of Shuiyu society. You are crazy and dare to provoke him. After hearing this, everyone took a few steps back again, for fear of being targeted by Suren. Although they were already several hundred meters away, they were still a little frightened. The mark is indeed important, but compared with the small life, the life is obviously more important. Suren's blow directly knocked the others awake, and no one dared to rush forward to die. However, this is only a corner of the battlefield, and the battle in other places has already entered a white-hot stage. The battlefield was divided into several large groups that were plundering and killing individual professionals. Shuiyu Society, Blue Flower Society, Yeshen Sect, and a temporary group formed by individual members. Each of these four large groups took a corner and consciously surrounded and killed those with the mark on their head. Everyone was furious, even begging for mercy was of no use. Unless a person dies, the mark will not fall off, and no one will care about others' pleas for mercy. Even people with good intentions have to go with the flow. If you don't kill others, others will kill you. There is no other choice. Shuiyu Society, you and I are at odds with each other. A middle-aged man looked at the woman lying in his arms, his eyes bursting with hatred. There is no mark on the top of his head, but there is one on his wife's head. They originally wanted to stay away from the crowd, but unfortunately they happened to encounter a group from the Shuiyu Society coming to harvest, and his wife naturally became the target of the harvest. Haha, boy, who do you think you are? You are still at odds with our Shuiyu Society, are you worthy? Ha 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 ha. More than a dozen members of the Shuiyu Club burst into laughter, their eyes filled with disdain. Forget it, stop talking nonsense, kill him too, and quickly go somewhere else to collect the marks. The president has said otherwise. You must get half of the marks. When the man heard this, he turned around and ran away, not even caring about his wife's body. He knew that he was no match for these people. Even if you resist here, you will die. The reason why he shouted just now was entirely out of instinctive anger. Now he felt a little regretful, so he immediately chose to run away. Haha, your wife doesn't want it anymore. You want to run away after saying harsh words? Kill him. More than a dozen people from Shuiyu Club gave chase. But after chasing for a few minutes, they became confused. Damn, how can this guy run so fast? Captain, we are a little far away from the main group, why don't we go back first? Someone looked around and saw that except for some corpses, there were not many people around. Each of them now has several marks on their heads. If they are targeted by powerful people, they will really be giving food to others. The team leader nodded. Escape first, remember that person, and deal with him slowly later. The people from Shuiyu Society were just about to turn around and move toward the group. But he saw a young man walking slowly from the direction where the man escaped just now. Captain, he has 103 marks on his head. We got rich, haha. Captain, quickly, kill him. Needless to say, the team leader had already set off the moment he saw Suren. Seeing these people rushing towards him with weapons raised, Suren had no choice but to slash out again. Along the way, people who knew him ran away when they saw him, and people who didn't know him rushed over to kill him when they saw him. There was even a moment when a middle-aged man ran and shouted for help, only to see the mark on his head. The fear on the man's face turned to greed. Of course, the result was a stabbing. After taking care of these dozen people, Suren had as many as 128 marks on his head. Suren looked back and saw that the space had shrunk a bit again. This is also the reason why he leans in the middle. He knows that once he meets other people, he will definitely attract their attention. But even if you stay at the edge of the space, it will push you closer to the center. That voice used various methods to make everyone kill each other. As the space shrinks inward, everyone will eventually be squeezed in the middle. Even if you want to leave, you can't leave and can only kill others to protect yourself. At this time, someone from the Yeshen cult group looked towards Duen Udeo. Sir, when will we attack? So far, they have not taken the initiative to take action. At most, others will rush up and be killed by them. Don't worry, let them grab it for a while. Anyway, all the marks will be mine later. These people are just making wedding clothes for me. When a few people heard it, they thought it made sense. There are only a dozen of them, and it would be too dangerous to disperse and fight for the mark except to break the prison. Instead of fighting for the scattered marks, it is better to grab the big ones directly. They have already set their sights on the two major communes and the large group of scattered people. At this time, people from the two major communes surrounded the large group of scattered people on the left and right as if they had a tacit understanding. As long as they eat this big group, the situation will be decided. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 294. Shuiyuwu, Li Qinghua, do you really want to kill them all? Leave a thin line in everything so that we can meet again in the future. Your mark is enough to enter the top 100, so please leave a way to survive. Shuiyuwu stood in front of everyone in Shuiyu society, looking at the team of scattered people with an indifferent expression. The winner is the king, and the loser is the bandit. Fortunately, you are still professionals. You don't understand such a simple truth. Then if one person has less of the treasure, we can have more. Why should I give it to you? Shuiyuwu, don't go too far. How presumptuous. Can you call the president by his name? The boss of one of Shuiyuwu's four generals shouted angrily and charged forward with his gun in hand. President, it's useless to talk too much. The truth is revealed under the fist, and my subordinates will be the vanguard. Shuiyuwu didn't stop him when he saw this, because that was what he meant. Kill, leave no one behind. Shuiyuwu waved his hand, without any emotion in his eyes. So far, nearly 100,000 people have died, and it has reached the point where it is unrelenting and it is impossible to stop. While Shuiyu Club was taking action, Qinghua Club was not idle either. The two families were attacked from the left and right. The strength of the two sides was originally very different. Now they were faced with the siege of the two communes at the same time. In less than half an hour, the group of individual people was killed and scattered. A team of thousands of people was killed without any chance of fighting back. This was a completely one-sided massacre. Shuiyuwu, Li Qinghua, you must die a happy death. I'll wait for you below. The screams continued, and they slowly stopped after dozens of minutes. When he looked again, there were layers of corpses piled on the ground, and the smell of blood could not be dissipated for a long time. President, there are more than a dozen people there, do you want to kill them all together? Shuiyuwu looked in the direction and saw that the people from the Yeshen cult were standing in the distance watching the show, with no intention of running away. There's something wrong with these people. They look too calm. Shuiyuwu frowned and looked at Granny Qinghua who was standing opposite. Granny Qinghua was also looking at the Yeshen cult group at this time. Li Qinghua, how about you send someone to kill those dozen people, and then we can discuss how to distribute the treasure. Shuiyuwu knew that if only the two of them were left, they would most likely not take action again. They have been fighting for decades, and they know that the opponent's strength is not much different from theirs. If the fight continues, both sides will suffer losses, and even if they get the treasure and go out, they will be liquidated by the empire. So it is basically impossible for them to play another game. The only thing to do now is to kill everyone who is not from the two communes. After all, he had killed so many people, so he might as well just stop doing it and finish off the others completely. Why don't you send someone over, Shuiyuwu? Grandma Qinghua relied on her own intuition to feel that the other party was not someone to be trifled with. Ha 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 ha, you two don't have to fight, I'll come here personally to send you two off. An arrogant laugh sounded, and Duan Yu stood in the sky looking down at the people of the two communes. Speaking of which, I would also like to thank you two for working together for so long and helping me gather all the marks together. Seeing the figure that suddenly flew into the sky, Shuiyuwu and Li Qinghua's expressions changed at the same time. Because they felt a power and pressure that was above them. Both of them are at the pinnacle of rank 8. To be suppressed by this person means that the other person is a top rank 9 expert. Who are you? It is impossible for us in Sakura country to have a strong person like you. Duan Yu proudly said. Oh, It doesn't matter if I tell you, I am the Dharma king of the night god sect, Duanzheng. What? The night god called. Shui Yuwu and Shui Yuwu were shocked at the same time. The reputation of the night god sect has gradually been revealed, and they have naturally heard of it. It is said that the last conference on Liulai Island was destroyed by the people of the night god cult. The owner of Liulai Island was also defeated by the guardian of the night god cult with the artifact in his hand. If it hadn't been for a mysterious man's intervention, the Yeshen cult would have succeeded that time. My Yeshen cult is also very reasonable in doing things. As long as the two of you are willing to surrender to our religion will spare your lives. We will not take any of this so-called treasure and will give it all to you. What do you two think? Duan Yu looked at the two of them patiently. The leader said that we must unite all the forces that can be united, and only kill them if they cannot be used by themselves. Of course he didn't forget this. I wonder what kind of surrender you are talking about? Granny King Hua asked with a frown. It can only be said that the way of heaven is good for reincarnation, no one will be spared by heaven. How many survive depends on luck. I'll give you one last chance, either kneel down and surrender, or die. Boom. In any case, they are also peak level 8 experts, but now they are being so humiliated, and the other party doesn't take them seriously at all. After holding high positions for so many years, how could they lower themselves to submit to others? Shui Yuo shook his head. In that case, you can go and die. I think it's better to forget it. I'm too old. You want me to serve others? Sorry, I can't do it. Seeing that the two of them were silent, Duan Yu said coldly. Two peak level 8 professionals, facing a 9th level professional, could barely withstand a wave of attacks. Before the sword was finished, another sword came. Buzz. Seeing this, Shui Yuo and Granny King Hua had to join forces to defend themselves. Oh. It seems like you two want to toast instead of eating and get a penalty drink. Granny King Hua looked at Shui Yuo. A sword light hundreds of meters long cut down with his swing. The huge explosion was deafening, and even if the two of them worked together to resist it, many people were still killed on the spot. When they heard that they wanted to take goo insects, the two of them were naturally unwilling. Listening to the other's extremely domineering voice, the two of them were filled with anger. These words are so similar to what their group of independent professionals said not long ago. If they dared to hide, their men would be killed with one sword. Sorry, I can't do it either. It seems we are not a good match. With your strength, you will definitely be reused by the leader. It seems that you chose the latter. It's simple. As long as you two are willing, I will ask the leader to send you night poison after you go out. By then, you will be considered members of my night god cult. Shui Yuo, do you want to serve others? Almost instantly, the sword light reached the sky where the two major communes were located. And once something like goo is planted, everything between them will be at the mercy of the other party. The power of the sword directly made the two people clearly understand the huge gap between the two sides. Duan Yu held a giant sword and slashed it down with a single stroke. Shui Yuo and Wu Shui secretly complained that the other party did not give them a chance to rest. The space in this area shrank again, and a young figure could be seen faintly on the horizon slowly walking towards here. In this case, I can only send you two on their way. This move is all about being domineering and fierce, not only powerful but also extremely fast. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 295. The sky above Kyoto, the Dragon Kingdom. A space crack thousands of meters long tore through the sky, revealing itself to the blue sky and white sun. The crack blocked the sky and the sun, and soon attracted countless people to stop and look up. Look. What is that? The sky is torn apart. Oh my God, the innocence is cracked. Countless people looked at the space cracks in the sky in horror, thinking that the end of the world was coming. At this time, a professional stood up and explained. A bunch of ignorant people, this is a space skill. Such a big space crack should be caused by the arrival of some extremely powerful person in Kyoto. At the same time, in the courtyard where the king was, the faces of everyone who were drinking tea and chatting in the pavilion changed, and they all walked out of the pavilion and looked into the sky. Master, who is coming to Kyoto? Those present were all top leaders of various departments in the Dragon Kingdom, and they couldn't help but feel afraid when they saw such a huge space crack. The king looked up at the sky with a solemn expression. Not a few seniors, they don't have the power to tear such a large space rift. It's not necessarily a good thing that this person comes uninvited. Please inform everyone to prepare for battle. Yes, Lord. Seeing the ruler of the country being so solemn, everyone else knew that the matter was definitely not a small matter. This was the first time they saw the king of the country showing such an expression. After everyone left, the king thought about it and finally chose to fly into the sky and stop outside the space crack. No matter who the other party was, as the leader of the Dragon Kingdom, he naturally had to be the first to step forward and ask about the other party's purpose. However, his figure seemed too small compared to the space crack. Quick, get on the flying beast and protect the king. The king's personal bodyguards quickly summoned their flying beasts and followed them. If something happens to the leader of the country, they cannot escape the blame. At this time, various departments in Kyoto were also moving quickly, and within a short time, the space crack was surrounded by people. The entire sky is full of flying beasts and professionals. No one knew what would come out, but they had to stay outside. Time passed by, and everyone looked nervously at the crack in space, not even daring to blink. Suddenly, there was a sound from within the crack. Then countless fairy sounds burst out, and everyone was so intoxicated after hearing this sound that they even felt as if they were ascending to immortality. Something's coming out. Someone shouted, breaking everyone's intoxication. Everyone looked intently and saw a painting boat as white as a crescent moon slowly sailing out of the crack in space. Although it looks like a ship, its size is hundreds of meters high. The hull of the ship was still slowly revealed, and the terrifying sense of oppression forced everyone to retreat. Some low-level flying pets fell directly to the ground without control. But the ordinary people on the ground were already pressed to their knees and unable to get up as soon as the bow of the ship came out. Professionals with lower levels were also unable to resist this pressure and knelt down directly. The king's face looked heavy at this time, and even he felt oppressed. And this only reveals the bow of the ship. Master, should we retreat further? The closer they got to the ship, the greater the pressure they felt. No one dared to pass within tens of meters around the bow of the ship. Moreover, everyone was kept being pushed back, unable to resist at all. Who is it? Is it really a visitor from outer space? Now they have determined that this is definitely not something that people on Blue Star can create. No country can create this terrifying coercion. But with the canopy blocking it, how could they get to Blue Star without passing through the teleportation array? No one can figure it out, because even a rank 9 expert cannot tear apart the sky and descend directly on the Blue Star from outside. The canopy can block all space skills they know. The fact that the opponent can come through spatial skills is beyond everyone's understanding. Just when everyone was retreating again and again, the bow of the ship appeared in front of everyone's eyes. I saw countless cranes dancing in the sky, and spiritual birds playing on the bow of the ship. Around those spiritual birds, hundreds of women wearing uniform white dresses lined up in 2 rows at the front of the boat. As soon as these hundreds of people appeared, all the flying beasts in the sky flew back in fear. No matter how much their owners reprimanded them, they could not hold them back. Only when they were far away from the boat with a painted bow did the flying beasts calm down. But it was only quiet for a while. At this time, A woman wearing a blue glazed skirt walked out of the boat, glanced at the many professionals surrounding the painting boat in the distance, and couldn't help but shouted coldly. "Mortals retreat!" As soon as the sound fell, an invisible force directly shook everyone in the sky and fell to the ground. You know, the people here are already the strongest force in Kyoto. Dozens of level 8 professionals were helpless in the face of this snort. Even the king was knocked upside down by the shock. When everyone landed, most people wanted to stand up only to find that they couldn't stand up at all. Their powerful strength is no different from ordinary people at this time. At this time, everyone's expressions were full of fear. Who is this? At this time in Kyoto, only the king could barely stand and did not kneel down. The others were already kneeling on the ground. The people on the boat were as if the immortal king had come to this world, and everyone was breathless. And depending on the situation, the woman in the green skirt is not the owner of the bow-painted boat. Because after she finished speaking, she turned around and bowed to look at the cabin. "Palace Master, we have arrived at the place of exile." A cold voice came out. "Find the immortal Goo Mother and bring her here." "Yes, Palace Master." 4 women in purple dresses walked out of the cabin. The 4 people turned into 4 purple streams of light and disappeared over Kyoto in an instant. For the people below, there is nothing else to think about except shock at this speed. So fast that they only saw a shadow flash before disappearing before their eyes. The secret area of Dragon Kingdom Trial. The original Temple of Immortality, which had a hole carved out by Suran, disappeared again. So much so that afterward, Wang Changjun sent people to search and found nothing. So this secret realm was sealed, and no one could teleport in again. But at this moment, several purple figures flashed in the secret area, and the 4 people who had just left Kyoto broke through the barrier of the small world and flew in directly. "It's here." One of the 4 people took out a long sword and slashed it out. The entire mountain peak was split in half in an instant. The Temple of Eternal Life was therefore exposed to the eyes of the 4 people. The 4 of them looked at each other, took one step forward, and were already inside the palace. Looking at the corpse on the throne, the 4 of them frowned. Died. How could anyone in the exiled land be able to kill this Goo Mother? The 4 of them were a little confused. After all, the Immortality Goo Mother is notoriously difficult to kill, so they just came to capture it and take it back. "What should we do now?" one person asked. "Let's take the Palace Master's clone back first." "Good." The 4 of them picked up the immortal body and flew straight out. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 296. In the sky over Kyoto, the entire outline of the painted ship was now revealed. This cannot be called a ship, but a giant battleship. The hull is thousands of meters long and hundreds of meters high. On the flagpole dozens of meters high, a crescent moon shines brightly, as if there is a real moon sealed on it. After this behemoth was fully revealed, the pressure it exuded became even more terrifying. Everyone below was kneeling on the ground shivering, not daring to take a breath. As for some ordinary people, they fainted directly. Only professionals can resist. The king sat cross-legged on the ground, his face flushed, and sweat was dripping from his forehead. He was obviously under great pressure. Interesting, there are people with such perseverance in this place of exile. The woman in green stood on the edge of the ship and took a look, then withdrew her pressure. The king finally breathed a sigh of relief. The woman in green was obviously targeting him, otherwise he wouldn't have been so uncomfortable with his strength. In less than half a minute, the 4 purple figures that had just left returned to the painting boat. "Palace Master, your clone has been brought back, but I don't know who killed the immortal Goo Mother." Hearing this, everyone on the boat looked sideways. The immortal goo mother is not easy to kill. This thing is extremely cunning, has 9 lives, and is good at escaping. Now he died in this place of exile, which really surprised them. Even the so-called palace master snorted in confusion when he heard this. The clone that was brought back turned into a faint point of light and merged into the main body of the palace again. Palace master, do you know who did it? In the cabin, women dressed in various colors looked at the man sitting on the throne. All of these women have the appearance of heavenly beings, and all of them are stunningly beautiful on earth. However, compared with the woman on the throne, she pales in comparison. If Suren were here, he would be able to recognize this person at a glance as the person the immortal goo mother talks about, Luo Yuxian. When the clone turned into a point of light and returned to her body, she already knew everything that happened. What a domineering force! This evil beast can't even take a blow from that young man. How could such a powerful force appear in this place? Luo Yuxian muttered to herself for a moment, then frowned slightly. Huh? There are actually 2 clones wandering here. Luo Yuxian closed her eyes, and an invisible will instantly spread across every corner of Blue Star. At this moment, all the creatures on the Blue Star felt this irresistible will at the same time. Found it? Inside the Longwu Guild. Ling Qingxiu felt a lot more at ease these days with Shika's company. The 2 sat by the lake to bask in the sun, while the Poison Dragon King followed from a distance to protect the 2. Suddenly, Ling Qingxiu felt her heart tighten. She's here. Ling Qingxiu stood up and looked nervously at the sky of the small world. What's wrong with you? Who's here? Shika asked doubtfully, then looked around. Except for the 3 of them, there was no one else around. The person who kept asking me to go back in my dreams, she came in person. At this time, a wave of will swept through. Ling Qingxiu's eyes were confused for a moment, and then she walked into the air step by step. Shika was shocked and wanted to get up and catch her, but she was suppressed by the will and couldn't move at all. Not to mention her, even the Poison Dragon King was fixed there and unable to move. Shika watched helplessly as Ling Qingxiu walked into the sky and disappeared step by step. It's over. The master asked us to protect her. What should we do now? How can I deal with the master now? Shika was extremely anxious, but she couldn't move at all until the will was gone. At this moment, not only her, but all the creatures on the Blue Star were unable to move, as if time had stopped at this moment. Outside the painting boat, 2 figures quickly walked all the way from the horizon. The people outside the cabin did not stop the 2 of them, but let them enter the cabin. Senior Sister Mu. Junior Sister Qingxiu. Only then did the 2 discover each other. They didn't know what happened, so they were caught inexplicably. The 2 entered the cabin and saw hundreds of people lined up on both sides. Seeing them coming in, everyone looked over together. Is this also the clone of the palace master? Why is it so weak? At this moment, a will that was hundreds of times more terrifying than before swept out in an instant. Forget it, take it back and re-enter the world of mortals to practice. But at this moment, the woman sitting in front of her said softly. Luo Yuxian glanced at the 2 of them, obviously a little surprised. This made them very curious about what happened, but they did not dare to ask. How come you can't find him? Everyone in the cabin didn't know what happened yet, but they just looked at their palace master in confusion. This will searched the entire Blue Star 3 times, and even searched several more times in Sakura country. The 2 of them actually fell in love with the same person at the same time, but Mu Hongxia had the mark of forgetfulness left by her, so she didn't bother with that person anymore. Go back to the palace. Luo Yuxian was instantly furious. This is also the mark she specially puts on each soul to prevent accidents. Presumptuous. As the saying goes, only by cultivating your human heart can you forget the love of the world. At this moment, all living beings knelt down and trembled. Because Luo Yuxian knew from Ling Qingxiu that Suren went to Sakura country. Because of Luo Yuxian's forced search in Sakura country, countless ordinary people couldn't bear it and died on the spot. But the mark in Ling Qingxiu's soul was actually erased by her. At this moment, countless weak creatures lost their minds and souls, and were directly crushed to collapse by the supreme will. But the moment the light point entered the body, Luo Yuxian's expression changed drastically. Luo Yuxian waved her jade hand lightly, and Mu Hongxia and Ling Qingxiu turned into faint points of light and returned to her body. Cultivation is only secondary. Palace Master cultivates the heavenly art of forgetting love. The important thing is that these 7 clones need to experience the world of mortals. How dare you do this? They didn't know how many years they had not seen their Palace Master so angry. Palace Master, this place is controlled by Wandeo Immortal Palace. We cannot stay for a long time to avoid causing trouble. Did something happen? My soul that escaped 300 years ago, why am I so old? Everyone was talking in low voices. Luo Yuxian became more and more angry and wanted to search again. When Luo Yuxian heard this, she suppressed her anger and said in a deep voice. Moreover, he also had that kind of relationship with that Suren. Even everyone outside the sky and the demon outside the territory were instantly crushed to the ground. Looking at his age, he probably doesn't have enough time to practice. No one knows what happened. They only know that if this will continues to exert pressure, everyone will probably die. They were one, and they all experienced the same thing. She could not help but experience what happened that night. But these 2 people are indeed too young and may not meet the requirements of the Palace Master. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 297. Sakura Country, inside the Dream City Palace. The mysterious figure looked outside in panic. Why is there such a powerful man here? He's not here to find me, is he? Humph, if you want to find me, just dream. The shadow tapped his hands lightly, and soon the entire space was hidden. No matter how hard the will searched, it could not find her. But she didn't know that this will was to find Suren. After doing this, she saved Suren's life. After all, Luo Yuxian has reached an incomprehensible state, and it is easy to kill someone thousands of miles away. After doing all this, Xueying looked into the space battlefield. At this time, even if the people from the 2 major communes joined forces, they were beaten back by Duanji. Hey, okay, I want to see blood flowing like a river. Xueying wanted to applaud excitedly, but found that she was lonely and had no body. That kid has passed by too, haha, let's fight. In the battlefield. Suren walked step by step, and his eyes lit up when he saw Duanyu, who was still exerting power in the air. A member of the night god called. Let me see how you run away this time. Suren had long wanted to arrest someone from the night god cult to question them about everything they knew. If he couldn't get out of this mysterious space, then this person definitely couldn't escape either. So Suren directly threw a beast catching skill at him. I've never caught anyone's pet before, but today is a good start. Only in this way can Suren ensure that what the other party said is true. However, the probability of success is still impressive, and Suren is not in a hurry. Anyway, the bottom line is guaranteed for 10 consecutive times. If you can't catch it once, catch it 10 times. At the same time that Suren threw the beast catching skill, Duanyu felt his soul shake, and he stopped preparing to attack again. Duanyu suddenly turned his head and looked into the distance, his originally cold and arrogant expression instantly turned into shock. Why is he in here? Impossible, I obviously didn't see him come in. In order to prevent Suren from entering here, he deliberately stayed until the last moment before entering. but he never expected that Suren would be the first person to come in. Duan Yu suddenly stopped attacking, which allowed Shui Yu and Wu to breathe. They thought the other party was going to make another offer, so they looked up, only to see the other party take a few steps back in the air as if they had seen a ghost. The two of them looked in the direction where his eyes were looking in confusion. I saw a handsome young man standing not far away calmly and looking at them with interest. It's him. Granny King Hua recognized Suren immediately. He sent someone to check Suren's information and was naturally very familiar with Suren's appearance. It's just that she doesn't understand, what is the Dharma King of the Night God sect afraid of? Isn't he Suren's opponent? President, this guy killed Kamino-kun and the others. One of Shui Yuo's men shouted loudly. Huh? Is it him? What is his strength? Shui Yuo is not blind. If Duan Yu is afraid like this, it is very likely that there has been friction between the two parties. And it was obvious that Duan Jing had the upper hand. At this time, Duan Yu had no intention of fighting anymore, and even their leader could only negotiate terms with Suren. No matter how arrogant he was, he knew he was no match for Suren. Now he couldn't care so much anymore and just turned around and left. Hey, sir, why are you running? The remaining dozen or so people from the Night God sect looked puzzled. They stood behind Duan Yu and didn't see his expression and didn't know what was going on. Didn't you just fight against two families? Why did he just run away? Forget about running, he actually ran away without taking them with him. Just when they were about to run along, Suren's voice sounded. Are you also from the Night God cult? Who are you? The dozen or so people looked at Suren in confusion. That's right, I'll give you a ride. The people of the Yeshen cult bullied him over and over again, so Suren would not look down upon them. I didn't kill Duanji immediately because it was useful to keep him. Anyway, the space here is shrinking and he can't escape, so Suren has no intention of chasing him and can just wait for him where he is. But the dozen or so people from the Night God sect were in dire straits. Suren didn't waste any time talking to them and just chopped them off with a single blow. Huh? Boy, you are looking for death, do you dare to attack us? More than a dozen people still wanted to resist, but it was in vain. With one blow, more than a dozen people fell to the ground and died. Seeing Suren take action in person, this shocked the people from the two major communes who were watching. Since when has killing been so easy? After killing these people, Suren looked at the people in the two communes and asked. Which of your companies is the Shuiya Club? These words were originally very plain, but when the people of Shuiya society heard these words, they felt chills all over their bodies, and a coldness rushed straight to Tianling Gai. I am Shui Yu Wu, the president of Shui Yu Society. Are you Suren? Oh, you are their president? Okay, I'll do it to you. Seeing that Suren wanted to draw his sword after a disagreement, Shui Yu quickly explained. Your Excellency, please wait. What? What are your last words? Presumptuous, boy, who do you think you are? Who gave you the courage to talk to the president like this? One of Shui Yuo's 4 generals couldn't stand it anymore and cursed angrily. Yeshen taught them that it was okay to swallow their anger if they couldn't beat them, but this boy didn't take their Shuiya club seriously. Keng. The sword flashed and the head fell to the ground. Ah! The others were so frightened by the scene that they shrank and no longer dared to make any sound. How could it be so easy for this person to kill someone? He was a level 8 master. How could it be easier than killing a pig? Even if the members of the Night God sect want to kill them, they must kill the 2 presidents first. This person will die if he takes action, and no one can stop him. If I ask you to say your last words, what are you talking about? Suren shook his head and then looked at Shui Yuo. It's your turn. Shui Yuo frowned, and there was a faint drop of sweat on his forehead. He finally understood why Duanji, who had beaten them so hard that they were unable to fight back, ran away when he saw this young man. Is this a fucking human? He killed his men so easily. Little brother, it's all a misunderstanding. Kamino-kun and others are asking for it when they offend you. I was practicing skills in seclusion at the time, and I didn't know anything about it. I apologize to you on their behalf. Shueyu was also a ruthless person. He knew that he could not offend Suren, so he simply cut off all ties. Anyway, those people were dead, and it was useless for him to defend his own people. If he didn't apologize in time, he might not be able to get out of here alive. Suren was a little amused when he heard this and said, "Everyone is dead, what's the point of apologizing for? Don't you want to avenge them?" Upon hearing this, Shueyu smiled awkwardly and said, "What's the point of revenge? They brought it upon themselves to do it. Little brother, if you don't blame us, Shueyu Club, there are already a lot of adults. It's not too late for me to thank you." Seeing the usually aloof president being so humble now, the people of Shueyu society lowered their heads in silence. This is a world where strength is respected. They can use their own strength to bully others, and others can also use their strength to bully them. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 298. I'm not a murderous person. Since you have sincerely apologized, it seems a little unreasonable for me not to forgive you. Hearing this, Shueyu felt relieved. He would rather die than surrender in front of Duan prison, because the other party wanted to treat him as a slave. When begging for mercy in front of Suren, he knew that Suren would not capture him and make him a slave. At most, he could ask for some compensation or something to resolve the matter. Shueyu knew that he could live such a long life. But what he didn't know was that Suren let him go not because he apologized to himself. After staying in Sakura country for so many days, Suren also learned a lot about the national conditions of Sakura country. The two major communes, Shueyu Society and Blue Flower Society, already have the power to compete with the official Sakura Kingdom. Suren's elimination of Shueyu Society has no meaning other than causing embarrassment and helping Sakura country get rid of a major problem. Suren would not do such a good thing for them. It's better to let them go back, and maybe add fuel to the fire to cause chaos in Sakura. Thinking of this, Suren looked at the people in the Blue Flower Club, who were also people who could be used. When Granny Kinghua saw this, she thought Suren was going to attack them, so she quickly said, "Suren, maybe we still have a relationship. Do you want to take action against me?" Hearing this, Suren became a little curious. "What's our relationship? Do I know you? Do you know Subai Feng?" When Granny Kinghua mentioned this name, there was obviously a lot of hatred in her eyes. Do not know. Suren had indeed never heard of this name. That's right. You really don't know his name. Let me change his name. The Su family in Kyoto, Dragon Kingdom, is known as Mr. Su. Do you recognize him now? Hearing the name, Suren nodded. It turned out to be him. Haha, if you use his relationship to get married to me, then you may have found the wrong person. Not only do I have nothing to do with him, but we are also enemies. You know that I am involved with him, which means you have investigated me, but don't you know that I was the one who destroyed the Su family? What? Granny Kinghua was obviously a little surprised. Aren't you his grandson? Is he worthy? Suren said impatiently, I didn't want to take action against you. If you really have something to do with him, you might be in trouble. What I hate most are the people of the Su family. Seeing that Suren was really about to take action, Granny Kinghua hurriedly explained. Wait a minute, to tell you the truth, Su Baifeng and I are also enemies. I know you probably thought I was making it up, but it's true. Back then, he abandoned my mother and son and married a girl from a big family. I was so angry that I traveled to Sakura country. I have been accumulating strength for revenge over the years, but my wish was not fulfilled. I haven't found the gallbladder of the Yamata no Orokai I'm looking for. After all, I won't be able to step into the 9th rank, and I won't be able to take revenge on that bitch in Subaifeng. I didn't expect you and Subaifeng to be enemies. This makes me a little surprised. Grandma Qinghua said with a smile on her face. She never expected that Suren and Subaifeng were enemies. An enemy's enemy is a friend, so it's a great joy. Suren didn't look like she was lying, and this kind of thing could be found out if she wanted to. Interesting, then we are still relatives. Grandma Qinghua smiled and said. Who says it's not the case? Speaking of which, my granddaughter Musa came to see you a few days ago. You two can be considered cousins. Originally, she was strongly opposed to her granddaughter having contact with Suren. But now that she knew that Suren and Subaifeng were enemies, she was actually willing for her granddaughter to have contact with Suren. Where can I find such powerful allies who are barely relatives? Suren didn't get too involved with her. For him, this kind of relationship basically didn't exist. At most, it just prevents him from killing the other party. Granny Qinghua didn't dare to treat Suren as her grandson. After all, he was not her descendant. If you want to establish a relationship, you can only rely on your own granddaughter. After all, they both have the same grandfather. Although neither party agrees with this identity, it is indeed the case by blood. Suren, what should we do next? Taking advantage of this relationship, Granny Qinghua took the initiative to talk to Suren. She is someone who knows how to use relationships to seize opportunities, while Shui Yuo can only stand aside. Wait, the space is shrinking, I have to wait for the person from the night god cult to come back. Suren didn't move, and the others didn't dare to move either. They just stood there and waited. But this scene made the shadow in the palace anxious. Damn it, why didn't you fight? It's all this damn human's fault. If he hadn't interfered, my body could at least be repaired some more. I'm furious. The shadow wanted to swallow Suren, but she was restricted and could not take the initiative except to make reasonable use of the rules in the space. After Suren and his party waited for a while, the space had shrunk to within the visible range. Seeing Duanyu being pushed back by the invisible wall of space, Suren threw another animal catching skill at him. Capture failed. Suren didn't pay attention. He found that the higher the level of the creature, the lower the success rate. But no matter what, he couldn't escape from his grasp in the end. Why don't you run away? Suren looked at Duanyu with a half smile. Humph, kid, don't think I'm really afraid of you. I just don't want to hurt our harmony. The leader thinks you are a talent and has always wanted to win over you, so he won't let me take action against you. When everyone heard this, they couldn't help but look at Suren. The young man in front of him actually needs the leader of the Night God sect to win over him personally, and it seems that he has not yet succeeded. You must know that even if they enter the Night God sect in the Hell Gate, they still have to swallow goo insects. The treatment of both sides is completely different. Suren said with some humor, then you can take action, I will not join the Night God cult. Taking advantage of the time to speak, Suren threw out a beast-catching skill again. Boy, are you playing some trick? Duanyu felt his soul shake for the third time. He didn't feel this way when he wasn't next to Suren. It means that the kid in front of him is definitely playing some trick that he doesn't know about. No, you see I haven't even moved, right? After Suren finished speaking, he glanced at the cooldown time of the beast-catching skill, and then silently counted down the tens of seconds in his mind. No way, it's definitely you. Here we go again. You. Duanyu only felt the world spinning for a while. When he opened his eyes again, he saw a dragon, an abyss demon and a bunch of messy things surrounding him, looking at him. The Ice Dragon King was the first to say in shock. "Let me strangle you, the master has captured a pet, and it's a boy." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 299. Just when Duanyu was confused, Suren's voice sounded in the beast's space. "Tell me, what does your night god sect want to do this time?" After hearing Suren's words, Duanyu immediately bowed seriously and said, "Duanyu has met the master. Now I am no longer a member of the Yeshen cult. I will only be loyal to the master. The leader of the night god sect sent me here to wait for the dream city to appear and then seize the artifact dream mirror." "Sacred weapon? There is actually a divine weapon in here?" Suren asked in surprise. "Do you know where the artifact is?" Duan Jing shook his head. "I don't know, I only know that it is in this space, but I guess this entire space is the body of the artifact. We are inside the artifact, but we just don't know how to get it." Suren thought for a moment after hearing this. If they are really in the artifact space, could the voice that has been leading everyone to kill each other be the will for the birth of the artifact? Suren felt that this was very possible. After all, the other party had strong control over this space. "I just don't know why the other party can't attack them directly." Suren glanced at Duanyu, and then ordered, "Just stay inside, I have something else to ask you later." Suren was extremely curious about the information about the world that the Yeshen cult had, otherwise he would not have been arrested. It's just that the time is not right now, because there are still people from the two major communes watching around. At this time, Granny King Hua and others did not know what happened, they only saw the Duan prison disappearing out of thin air. They thought Duanyu had hidden his figure. Therefore, everyone is watching the surroundings vigilantly to prevent the other party from sneak attack. "Suren, where are the people from the Night God sect?" Granny King Hua looked around. There was only a small space in the space, but they couldn't find each other. She suddenly felt that the other party's concealment methods were also powerful. Naturally, it was impossible for Suren to tell them that he had taken Duanyu as his subordinate. Suren can also make use of his identity as Duan Jing. He is the best undercover agent who will never rebel. When the time comes to return him to the Yagod cult, Suren will know everything about the Yagod cult. If Suren told them, the news would definitely leak out. "I don't know. After all, it's level 9. Some escape methods are normal." Suren found an excuse to deal with it. Although everyone was still a little confused after hearing this, why would the other party come back if he had such means? However, there is currently no other clear explanation. Anyway, no one would think that Duanyu had become Suren's pet. Even if Suren said it, they would not believe such an outrageous thing. How much does this space have to shrink before it stops? Everyone is focusing on the increasingly smaller space. Now the entire space is less than 100 square meters, and everyone is almost crowded together. If the killing continues as before, not many people can survive in such a small space. Suren looked up at the sky and said loudly, "Okay, it's time to end. They can't continue fighting." Just when everyone was wondering about Suren's behavior, the ethereal voice sounded again. "Okay, the last round of testing is over. The first 100 people with the dream mark on their heads can enter the hall to receive your rewards. The others will be eliminated. There are only a few hundred people from the two communes left here, and everyone else is dead." A flash of light flashed, and all those without marks and those ranked below the top 100 were sent out. Outside, next to the mountain lake, hundreds of rays of light flashed. These were the people eliminated from the two communes. They thought they would die inside because they did not meet the ranking requirements, but they did not expect to be teleported out. Looking at Yamanaka Lake, these people let out a cheer. They didn't know how long they had been there, but the feeling of surviving a disaster was so unforgettable. I finally came out, I almost died in there. I want to have a good meal if I survive this disaster. Then let's just sit back and wait for those two big fish to fall into the trap. You are about to die, and you still dare to talk to me like this. How brave are you? Do you want to offend our Shuiya Club and the Blue Flower Club alone? They have prepared various killing and trapping formations for 3 days and have already turned this place into a dragnet. Dispose of the body and repair the damaged formation. Ba bang bang. Even if they were extremely powerful, they couldn't withstand being bombarded by Yamada Nobano's wait-and-see style of play for long. Yamada Shino glanced at it casually, waved his hand to drive away some smoke and dust, and then said lightly. After saying this, Yamada Shino's face no longer had the smile before, but became extremely cold. Since you don't want to say it, then go and die. There's no use keeping you here anyway. Boom. Yamada Nobano didn't talk nonsense, he clapped his hands casually and activated all the formations. For this notoriously cowardly city lord, they didn't take him seriously at all. Oh, so that's it? Then I wonder what opportunity he got. No one in these two communes can hope to leave here alive. Yamada Shino chuckled when he heard this, then shook his head and said. Yamada Shino was non-committal. Huh? Yamada Shino, you are so brave. Everyone looked at him with even more disdain in their eyes. You have already planned it? The president had a great opportunity, so naturally he didn't come out. Yamada Shino, have you drank too much? Do you know what you are talking about? Ha ha ha, that's right. You go first. Shui Yuo and Li Qinghua will go down to accompany you later. Several rounds of applause were heard, and Honshu Castle Lord Yamada Shino slowly walked out from a distance. Normally, he would not be able to mess with either of these two families, but now Yamada Shino is talking nonsense here as if he had drunk fake wine. Seeing that it was Yamada Nobano, everyone looked at him with disdain and laughed. Members of the Imperial Self-Defense Forces. Only then did everyone realize that there were formations under their feet. Countless arrow rain magic combined with various formations to kill the people of the two major communes in the formation. Just as they were panicking, thousands of people instantly poured out of the dense forest outside the formation. Yamada Shino walked 100 meters in front of the crowd and then stopped moving forward. Looking at everyone, it seems very dangerous inside. Where are the presidents of your two presidents? Why didn't they come out? Everyone thought they heard it wrong. Why did Yamada Shino dare to say such things to them? Less than a few minutes later, there were only hundreds of corpses left on the spot, and no one in the two communes was spared. Yamada Shino, our president wants to tell you about any opportunity he gets? Who do you think you are? I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 300. In a Mysterious Space. After the voice sent those people away, a full moon appeared in the sky. The full moon got bigger and bigger, and finally filled the entire sky. Within the full moon, a flawless white palace slowly emerged. A ladder extends from the palace to everyone's feet. Everyone looked at each other with excitement in their eyes, but Suran didn't move and no one dared to move rashly. Everyone looked at Suran. Suran glanced at the palace and walked up the ladder. Others quickly followed. There are 99 steps in total on the ladder, but nothing else happened on the way. After walking up the last step, there was a flash of white light, and Suran appeared first inside the hall, followed closely by the others. The entire hall is made of unknown materials. There are a total of 9 pillars in the hall supporting the entire hall. However, there are signs of cracks on the top of each one and they look incomplete. The pillars are decorated with flowers, birds, fish, insects, mountains, lakes, etc. When I took one look at this pillar, I felt that there was some kind of Taoist charm in it. Shui Yue gathered around a pillar and looked at it in surprise. After hearing this, the others also found a pillar and looked at it. Except for the 9 pillars, there is nothing else in the hall. At this time, everyone was attracted by the things on the 9 pillars, and seemed to have forgotten that they were here to receive rewards. "Why don't you look?" a voice sounded in Suren's ears. "What are you looking at?" Suren said calmly. "Of course, look at the 9 stone pillars. What's so interesting about a few broken stone pillars?" "How many broken stone pillars? Do you know their origins?" "Each of these stone pillars contains countless truths of the heaven and earth. No one else has a chance to see it, and you actually said there's something good to see." "Oh, what then?" Suren remained unmoved. "These so-called avenues have nothing to do with him. These avenues restrict them. They may be a treasure to others, but they are of no use to Suren. Suren's way is what I do is my way. Conceptual God does not need other ways, it is the way and the rules." So Suren was not attracted by the 9 stone pillars. A shadow appeared in front of Suren. He looked at Suren strangely and said, "I really can't understand you as a human being. In this place of exile, your power has long exceeded the limits of this place. Why don't those people come and clean you out?" Suren looked at the phantoms of various characters and faces that were constantly changing in front of him and said doubtfully, "What's the meaning? Also, can you stop changing your appearance? It makes me dizzy." "Oh, I can change whatever you like." Suren glanced at it with disdain. "What's the use of being good-looking if you don't have a body? Also, you haven't answered my question yet, who are those people you are talking about?" The shadow turned into a little girl, frowning, pouting her little mouth and saying displeasedly, "Why should I tell you?" Suren flashed the knife. "You sure?" "Humph, that's really boring. If you have the ability, don't use that knife of yours. I can see that you are only good with that knife." Suren smiled, put away the magic knife Thousand Blades, and then changed it to another knife at will. "Do you think I'll have the same effect with this knife?" Seeing Suren's confident eyes, Shuiying compromised. "As long as I threaten others, it doesn't matter if I tell you. Anyway, with your strength, you will know sooner or later. This world of yours is just the tiniest and smallest one among thousands of worlds. To put it bluntly, the people here are not human beings. They are just the descendants of sinners who were exiled and imprisoned. There are many powerful star empires outside your world, but my memory is incomplete, and I don't know who is in charge of your place." After hearing this, Suren was silent for a while. As an Earthling, of course he knows that there are other planets in the universe, so he is not surprised that there are huge forces outside. But does this exile and imprisonment mean that this world is just a prison for others? A planet was turned into a prison. What kind of force could do this? Seeing that Suren didn't speak, Shuiying gloated. "Are you scared? But you don't have to worry so much. There are hundreds of thousands of planets like yours in the universe, and each of them imprisons countless people. You are just one of them. Do you feel better if you think about it this way?" As the shadow spoke, he began to comfort Suren. "These 9 stone pillars are the pillars that support the sky. They represent everything in the world. Every living being can find something of their own on them. You ask me? How do I know? Humph, if it weren't for you, I would have eaten them all. It stands to reason that all living beings born in this universe will be attracted to them. You didn't lose, you were broken. Ignorant natives, you underestimate me too much. The artifact is nothing but rubbish. You are the only one who thinks it is very powerful. There are all kinds of expressions. You're a strange person. Why aren't you attracted to stone pillars? Oh, an innate treasure? Then why were you broken into pieces? Why are so many people locked up? Shueying was so angry that he wanted to rush forward, but gave up after looking at the knife in Suren's hand. Hearing this, Shueying was obviously a little angry. Suren glanced at the people in the two major communes. They were talking so loudly and no one looked at them. This was obviously abnormal. Suren spread his hands. When saying this, Shueying puffed out his chest and looked very proud. Of course I lost the fight. I forgot exactly who beat whom. I was broken to pieces at that time and ended up here. But Suren didn't care about this, but asked. You're shattered. Can you not mention the breaking thing? You are so annoying. I am an innate treasure that is unique in nature. No matter how many people want to get it, they have no chance. Greed, anger, ignorance, hatred, love, evil, and desire. It's all this human's fault. If it weren't for him, I would have recovered some strength and left here. The opponent is also an innate treasure, but if I remember correctly, I didn't lose, and it didn't suffer much. It took me thousands of years to gather some strength to open the door and let you in. Are you an artifact spirit? Forget it, I won't tease you anymore. What did you do to them? Suren ignored its complaints and asked again. Upon hearing this, Shueying's expression shrank, his head drooped and he said. After Shueying finished speaking, he looked at Suren strangely again and circled around Suren 3 times. They just saw the deepest desires hidden in their hearts. If Suren hadn't made a few random cuts as soon as it came in, causing it to spend a lot of energy repairing the space, it wouldn't have wasted so much time seducing these people to kill each other. What? Artifact? It's you. And at this time, everyone's faces were changing with various expressions.